Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are planting potatoes in containers. Specifically, we are going to be using fabric pots. I picked up these seed potatoes from Tractor Supply Co. a couple of weekends ago, and I have some blue, well, I guess they're purple, but they say they're blue. Also, I have red potatoes and russet potatoes. So we're gonna go through these bags and we're gonna pick out some potatoes to plant into these pots. Some potatoes we're gonna cut in half and we're gonna let them scab over for the next couple of weeks, but I'm thinking we're gonna plant about 4 containers worth of potatoes today. You can pick up about 3 to 4 pounds of potatoes for, these were $6, and I know you can also find them at local big box stores in the garden center right now. It's important to make sure you use seed potatoes and not just store-bought potatoes. Store-bought potatoes are typically sprayed with a sprout inhibiting chemical, making them less likely to sprout and form an entire crop. So I mentioned before we're going to be using fabric pots instead of plastic containers or 5-gallon buckets or even growing our potatoes in the ground. The reason I love using fabric pots is because they're aerated. With this being a root crop, it's really important to be able to have that. In plastic pots, they're going to get overheated quickly in the summer, and since potatoes are a cool weather crop, it's best to make sure your soil stays cool. Potatoes like to be in soil that is at least 45 degrees Fahrenheit, but in the summer you're going to need to make sure that you keep the soil cool as well, which is why I love fabric pots. So this one is a 15-gallon smart pot, and I am going to be using 15 and 10 gallons. In a 10-gallon smart pot, you're able to fit about 3 plants or 3 seed potatoes. And then in my 15-gallon, I'm able to fit about 5 plants or 5 seed potatoes. When it comes to planting your potatoes, you're going to want to space them about 6 to 8 inches apart. The more space, the more potatoes. So the bigger container, the better. You can see here, there's handles, which makes it really easy to transport. Right now, it's about 65 degrees outside and spring's only a few days away. However, we do have a chance of frost for at least another month and a half. When you have a container with handles, you're able to transport them easily. I'll be moving my containers inside if we have any frost within the next month or so until my potato plants mature. This container is empty, but we are going to be using older soil that I already have in my garden. Last year, I bought a bunch of Fox Farm soil for my garden, and we are going to be adding some worm castings to refresh the soil. Potatoes are a really heavy feeder, so it is important to add some amendment if your soil is depleted. But when it comes to planting your potatoes, you don't want to over-fertilize them either. So on the back of your potato bags, you will find a lot of good information. Just like a seed packet, there's going to be information on when to grow, even how to harvest and store your potatoes. Let's get these bags cut open, and we're actually going to pull out all the smaller seed potatoes because I did not get them cut. Your seed potatoes need to have at least 1 to 2 eyes. I will show you right now what that looks like. And when they have more than that, you can actually cut your potatoes, getting a lot more plants than just planting a whole one that has like 5 or 6 eyes. Well, these ones are sprouting. So you can see right here that this one is definitely already starting to sprout. I think all of these are sprouting. So this one we're definitely going to plant today. This one has about 2 eyes, so we're going to plant this one today too. This one I'm definitely going to cut. We're actually going to plant these 4 plants in a 10-gallon smart pot. We might be limiting the space a little bit since 3 plants is recommended for 10, but that's what we're going to do for this smaller crop. All right, on to the red potatoes. So this is my first year growing red, blue, or even russet potatoes. Last year I did gold potatoes, the Yukon Gold. I didn't get a great crop from them because they are a determinate potato, meaning they have a single layer and you only get a certain amount of potatoes per plant. This one's going crazy a little bit. This one I'm definitely going to cut into a couple different pieces since we have more than 2 or 3 eyes. This one's got about 3 eyes, so it's perfect to be planted today. And last but not least, we have the russet potatoes. I actually went downstairs to go grab my soil amendments. It's talking about if you have depleted soil or you're using old soil, that you definitely need to get it refreshed. So I have worm castings here. These worm castings are a great soil amendment. They help provide nutrients to the soil as well as give you the refreshment that you need for a new crop. I also have some granular fertilizer here. This is some slow release granular fertilizer from Trifecta Plus by the MI Gardener. We're gonna mix this into the soil really well, and we're also gonna mix this into the soil really well. You do not want to just lay a layer of fertilizer without mixing it in. You can burn your crops. I'm just gonna grab a smart pot from my garden real quick. We're gonna put down about 4 inches of soil into the smart pot, and we're gonna get a base for our potatoes. These smart pots sat out here all winter, so I'm just gonna give it little fluff so I can get it out of here. I believe this pot was used for peppers, so it'll be fine for potato crops this year. All right, now let's see if we can get about 4 inches of soil into this container. The best part about gardening is just getting in, getting your hands dirty. I'm going to get some worm castings mixed in. I don't measure, I'm just going to do a couple of handfuls. All right, we got our worm castings in there. Now let's get some granular slow release fertilizer in there. I'll probably still feed with a water soluble liquid fertilizer later on in the season, but for now, if I can get this bag open, this should be the perfect amount. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm not measuring here either. For root vegetables, the recommended amount is about 1 tablespoon per plant once a year. So I'm just gonna go ahead, sprinkle some of this in here since it's a pretty big pot, and get that all mixed in as well. All right, we have this nice and mixed up. Now with this is a 15-gallon. I want to plant, I'm gonna plant my russet potatoes in this one. We have 5 seed potatoes. 5 seed potatoes is perfect for a 15-gallon fabric container. You want them to be about 6 to 8 inches apart, and with the smart pot I can probably fit about 1 every 6 to 8 inches, so it's going to work out really good. So we were talking about the eyes earlier. So here you can see the eyes. We've got 1, 2, 3. Got 3 eyes growing. I'm going to plant this potato this side up, and you want to have at least 2 eyes per potato, so 3 is great. We're gonna cover these up with about 6 inches of soil after this, so let's just go ahead and get them planted. This one has multiple eyes. It could have been cut, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get this planted and we're gonna reduce the risk of rot because I'm not gonna cut it. And we're gonna put this little one right in the middle. So you can see we got a fair amount of spacing between the potatoes, around 6 inches or so, and this should be able to produce a really good crop. We're gonna go ahead and get these covered up. And I'm gonna dump about 6 more inches of soil on this. What's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, you're going to start to see some sprouts. When you see about 4 inches of foliage start to come up above the soil, that's when you're going to add about 4 to 6 inches more soil. So our last step with this is going to be folding it down because we didn't use the whole entire smart pot. So the best part about smart pots is when you roll them down, you're able to mimic the hilling of potatoes. If you were to plant potatoes in the ground, you would actually hill around them to be able to provide the tubers enough stem where more potatoes are going to grow off of that. So as you fill your smart pot, just keep on rolling it up. And then when you finally get to the top and it's all unrolled and you still have foliage, just pack it a little bit on top and that'll be your final dressing. Now, when it comes to planting crops, the most important thing is to make sure you have a label. So I'm gonna get my labels, we're gonna stick it in here, mark it russet potatoes, and then we're gonna move my crop to my container garden. So I actually decided that I'm only going to plant a crop of the russet potatoes in the 15-gallon, a crop of the blue potatoes in the 10, and a crop of the red in the other 10. It's raining, so I should probably get heading inside, and we're gonna leave these pots out and they're gonna start sprouting within the next couple of weeks. See you next time.